Yeah, it was an extraordinary game of cricket. I mean, if you look at it and just on the score, you wouldn't think anything that strange had happened. But both sides getting massive 10th wicket stands. We were thinking 350 were right in this game already for that wicket, and then 130 for one, 220 for 202 for seven. That was a disappointing session. It was a very strange. Throughout these three Test matches, we're just having really bad periods, and that's costing us. In the end, actually, we'd have taken 500 and put in some pressure on India at the end, and up until pretty much half an hour before tea, we still had that chance, but in the end the wicket won. I just think that pitch was so unique. I mean, to play a pitch like that in India, the only one I can remember would be that Nagpur pitch we batted out to have that draw in 2012, except we had four seamers to bowl on it rather than two spinners and two seamers, so it was a very similar wicket to that. So I think both sides will be saying you can't read too much into it until we pretty much get back into hopefully some English conditions where it bounced above Nero. Yeah, we said at the beginning of the day when we were on it, we were going to be totally on it, committed to winning this game. We wouldn't look to Lords. As I said, I can't remember what they started the game, 120 ahead today. So you'd on that wicket you'd back yourself to get 240, 250 and 50 odd overs, because it was very hard ground to defend. I think if you played quite aggressive cricket. So once it got to that stage, then it was a matter of, we were out then. I think we bowled Stokes, bowled probably a couple of overs too many when the game was dead. But apart from that, I can't fault the lads enough. You go back to that first day and the first 3 fours went down to third man for 12, and you're thinking, is that strange? Trent Bridge normally nicks like that will be going straight to third slip or gully, and it took us about 45 minutes to an hour to realise this is not a normal Trent Bridge wicket, and we have to adapt and have wickets, have catches in front of the square, and it'd be just waiting for that ball to reverse swing. And I said that the lads were brilliant on that, and never once did they get angry and get frustrated like playing India in these conditions, and we with the ball I couldn't fault them. Yeah, I just think it's what makes cricket so special. You don't go to other places around the world and expect anything different to what tradition, I suppose. The groundsman obviously has put his hand up and said he got it wrong. We asked him at the beginning of a week and a half ago, as long as it has some pace in it. We're not talking about excessive movements. We just want some pace in the wicket, make it like a good Trent Bridge wicket. And it wasn't like it. I don't think it was him lack of trying or anything like that. Or these things are very hard to do. Weather, all that kind of stuff. How a wicket is prepared. So it is what it is, but it is. I think it's important that wherever you go in the world, it has the same, the characteristics of what you expect to be. So if you're in England, you'd like it. When the sun's out, it's flat for batting, and when the sun's in, when the cloud, it swings round with a pitch which Nick's carrying. It was a very late decision to do it, and I've never ever done it ever before. Ruti was egging me on to do it. It came out all right. Yeah, I know. I probably should have done that, but I got tired. I think. No, that was my action in its full glory. That was just we didn't want to bowl another over. I thought Gary was bowling beautifully. Yeah, I mean, Simon is a very tough kid. I mean, he had a tough 8 overs against Australia, and he's fought his way back. Until he plays, you will never know. But what we've seen of him this week, and what Morsey knows of him, obviously I think that's a very important thing. Morsey knows him better than anyone else. Obviously coaching him for Lancashire for 5 years. But he's been bowling us the nets, and he looks a really good bowler. Obviously we didn't see the best of that at the Oval in that one game, and quite rightly could have been very nervous, didn't know many of the lads, all that kind of stuff, and come into it. So we will only know when Simon does play Test cricket. But from what I've seen of him and what I've heard about him, he's got the character to do that. I'm sure he'll be nervous when he bowls a game, but weren't we all when we first started? And until you make a contribution for England, you're never quite sure whether you belong in international cricket at Test level. But what I've seen of him as a character and the talent he's got with the ball, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. He's worked really hard getting back to where he was a couple of years ago, and the form he showed and taking the wickets that he took. And I think he's done a really good job. Obviously Morsey helped him through that as well at Lancs. Glenn Chappell's continued that. And like Cookie said, he bowled really well this week as in the nets. So you'd never know if he's ready until he plays. But
you see the qualities of a test bowler in him.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
I've got the match ball, yeah.
And Stuart Broad spent quite a bit of time on the field. Is he okay?
Yeah, he was. Once the game was gone, it's just, as I say, everyone knows about his knee, so it's just starting that rehab treatment and the stuff he needs to do an hour earlier than they would have done from standing at mid-on, not doing too much.
Last couple?
Look, I think we can't read too much into this game in terms of runs scored on this wicket. As I said, it was very much suited to those Indian batters. That's what they're used to. But as I say, they scored a lot of runs in this game. We need to be hopefully a bit more pace and bounce, and we'll know a lot more about them in hopefully a week's time.
Last Monday.
Is that something you were urging?
Well, it would have just been another hours of batting. Hopefully, you have to, and that can only be a good thing. But I was pretty sure that their bowl. I was thinking if it was on the other foot, and I was telling Jimmy and Brody we're just going to have an hour bowling at them. I'd have got very short shrift and told to go somewhere else, and we'll just let the batters bat the day out. So I was pretty sure that unless we bowled them out, we wouldn't be back.